you know, I'm a real scrapbooker. I think Jody is too. So I was just going to show you. This is like my 2010 scrapbook. So if you can see the width of it, yeah, right. So people are laughing. And then this is kind of an example of the fact that I have this page is a digital page, and this page is actually just a paper page. So I use both digital pages and paper pages in the same book, which means for me, I want my digital pages to look more like scrapbook pages. I don't want them to look like fancy-dancy photography stuff. I want them to look like a scrapbook page. So that's kind of the approach that I take when I use digital scrapbooking. So one of the best sites that I found, and I'm going to try to screen share, is there's a site called scrapgirls.com, and it has a bunch of different kits that you can download. You can be part of their group. There's also free downloads. And the kits come, you can see over here, with paper and embellishments. And what I'm going to kind of do today is show you how to build using a kit like that. So that's kind of the approach I'm going to take today to go through that. What I started with, and I'm also a big believer in having a plan. I'm an engineer, so you know I have to plan. So I started with a sketch, and you can find sketches anywhere. This one happens to be from creativescrappers.com. You can find a sketch anywhere. So if you look at this sketch, what I'm going to try to do is use the kit from the internet and build a page that looks like this sketch. Now, this sketch happened to be for paper scrapbooking, so it doesn't matter where the sketch came from or what it was used for. You can also get ideas from other scrapbooks. The idea is to build your page using a sketch and I happen to use Photoshop Elements. So what we're going to be doing today is building that page that we saw before in Photoshop Elements. So the first thing that you really need to do, I'm hoping you guys can see Photoshop Elements. Somebody say yes, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. The first thing you really need to do is do a blank file. And I went over this when we did the last one, so I'm just going to real quickly show you. It actually has, because apparently there's so many of us, scrapbooking as a preset. So you can just use that as your preset and name it whatever you want. So just use scrapbooking. If you don't make it 12 by 12, if you make it 8 by 8 or 6 by 6, you might not get as good resolution in your, particularly if you use pages. A lot of the kits come for 12 by 12, so they expect you to open up a 12 by 12 file in Photoshop Elements. So that's kind of the approach that I like to take. So the next thing you're going to see down here on the bottom is what I did is I took the approach from that page and I went to one of the kits that I had on the Scrap Girls, and I found a kit that I liked, and I downloaded a bunch of the different elements from that kit, and I went ahead and opened them. So I have a paper, some smaller paper, some embellishments, and if you'll notice, Jody, I know that you do some scrapbooking, you notice they look like just real scrapbooking embellishments. So you kind of start with that. I also picked which pictures I want, and obviously if you can see this, I'm going to do some band pictures of my girls from their band concert. So, and now my phone is ringing. It never rings. We never get phone calls, and now I get a phone call. It's kind of funny. So the first thing you need to do is decide what background you want. For this particular one, I thought that since it was band and since I'm going to have a lot of color in both the pictures and in the ornament or instruments, that I would just use this black striped paper. You know, there's a lot of people that what they like to do after they pick a paper is then add a fill layer pattern and actually go ahead and add the one that looks like paper. So you can see here there's all the ones that have kind of a crosshatch. It makes it look like it's that basil paper, the thicker paper. So if you do that and hit OK, and then you change it to an overlay, and you can change your opacity on that, you can actually make your paper, and it doesn't show up so well with the black, but you can make your paper look more like actual paper, so that when it prints out and you put it in your scrapbook, it's almost hard to tell, you know, whether or not it was real paper or a digital image. That's kind of a good trick to remember when you're doing this if you want them to look more like scrapbooks. So the next thing, we'll see if this works. Are you ready? if we go back to the sketch, so once you had your base paper, the next thing you needed to do was build this section of the page, which basically is trying to figure out how to build the next set of paper. So what I did is I went to, nope, that's not what I want. I went and I looked at the paper and they had pink. Well, if you look at my girls' clothes, if I can bring that up, neither one of them were wearing pink. So I thought, okay, that's not going to really work. I need to find something else. So I just went ahead and took and put a square onto the paper. Or actually, it's a rectangle. Thank you. I'm sure, Kevin, you were saying rectangle in the back of your head, right? I actually just put a rectangle in that location and decided that would be better. And in order to get the color for it, I went ahead and opened up one of the other embellishments that I was going to use. And in this case, it was this ribbon that was going to go across the bottom here to mimic the black line on that page. And when I picked the color of this square, I used the dropper and actually pulled the color. One of the things that's so great about digital scrapbooking that you can't do in real scrapbooking is make the colors match the pictures. You can actually use that eyedropper key and actually make a page with the exact colors of your pictures. And if there's one thing that I've really enjoyed about digital scrapbooking, it's that. It's the ability to make any embellishment, any color you want by overlaying it with the paint bucket and using the Control-G to clip it on top of the other image. And you can actually make something the exact right color for your pictures. It's kind of been a neat thing that I've done with scrapbooking. You'll also notice this particular, I think you can tell, I also added a texture onto this square or this rectangle so that it looks more like paper and is not so boring as well. So I built that, and then we just go on to what I call the fun part. In the actual design, there were 3 little tags at the top. So I took 3 tags that came with the kit, and I sized them and hung them up here on top of each other. And you'll notice I also made them beveled with a shadow so that they look more three-dimensional. And one of the things that I plan on doing now is, you know, one of the things in scrapbooking that's important is actually putting the date on things and when things occurred. So you would actually just go in here, and if I was doing real scrapbooking, I would just take a pen and I would write. Well, in this case, you would just take the text and you would actually just type in, you know, May of 2011 here, which is when this was, and I would attach it on top of these little tags. And, you know, once again, in real scrapbooking, you have to deal with your own handwriting, and it's horrible. And if you're like me, you know, you should have been a doctor, but you just weren't smart enough. So I try to just do it. Oh, come on, one more one. So now what I've got is the actual date there, and you can mess around with it and make it however you want, but that's one thing you would do. Now, one of the other things that sometimes I do once I get it in just the right place, because I have so many layers, is I'll actually merge those 2 together when I get it right in the right place, so that if I have an embellishment set that I really like and I want it to stay together, if you merge those layers together, then you can size them or move them, and that makes your scrapbooking a lot faster. The other thing that you can do is if you get a set of embellishments that you like and you want to use them again and again, you can save that particular set, merge them together, and save them as a separate JPEG, so you have them forever and ever to use. So that's another kind of trick that I've found that helps. Okay, so back to fill screen. So if you'll remember what we were looking at before, we had... So what we've done now is we've created the big page, we've created the black line, and we've created the blue color block, and we've also created these little doodads up here. So now what we can do is just add a couple of the other embellishments back onto the page. So, oh, by the end of this, I'm going to get really good at this screen share stuff. So what I did here, and the good thing about one of the things I really like about the kits from Scrap Girls is what you'll notice is I start putting on these little brads. They come pre-beveled and pre-shadowed, so you don't have to add a lot of that to them. So you just add them on there. So there's that little set right there at the bottom. And they came pre-done. So basically, that is the base page. That's as far as I actually got before you guys, before we kind of all got together. So now what I need to do is actually add the pictures on here. So what you'll see is there was 3 pictures in that design. Now, I have 3 pictures that I want to use, but obviously, all 3 of them were not squares. So how do you make them a square? Well, you know, there's probably a much better way to do this, and Jack, at some point, if you want to explain to me what it is. But I use the cookie cutter tool in the shape, and then I believe if you hit the control, I think it's control or shift, I'm trying to remember which one it is. Yeah, shift will make it keep a good square. Now, you do that, and then it'll save the picture, and if you'll notice, I have, come on. So if you've noticed, I've already done it with my other 2 girls' pictures. Now here's the part that bothers me every time I do it. So you do the cookie cutter, and then there's this little section that was off the screen, and that irritates me every time. But I've learned that you just make sure you select it on the layer, you do that, and you hit delete, and it goes away. So see, look at that. That's how you make mistakes go away. Okay, so now what we need to do is move these pictures. Now, and here's the next part that's kind of fun. Like, if you were just following the design, you would just do 3 pictures, right, like that, and, you know, it would all be the same. Now, and a lot of times I'll do that, but one of the things I like about scrapbooking is you get to be creative. I kind of want this picture of both of my girls to be more prominent. So what I'm going to do is actually do kind of like this, where I put more of a... I put it more kind of like down there, and then I move them around. So instead of just being a boring, you know, 3 across, I've kind of changed up the nature of the page, but I think that's okay. Once again, it's kind of important to go in and add a bevel or a shadow just so that it looks 3D. I go back to if you're not really doing it to, if you don't care if it looks like a scrapbook page, like if you're not going to put it against other scrapbook pages, it probably doesn't matter. But if you're like me and you put it in a book that has other scrapbook pages, it kind of makes a difference. Another big difference is because, you know, in reality, they would all have the same, the light would be shining on the same way. If you do put a bevel and a shadow, make sure you don't change the shadow direction from one picture to another, because that makes it kind of look, it just, to your eye, it makes it obvious that it's not a scrapbook page. I don't know if that makes sense to everybody, but that's kind of something that I found. Yeah. So the last part is to add, you know, what you would do now is you would add a couple more embellishments. So I'm going to show you how I did that instead of just turning on the layers. All I did before, and since this is blue, I'm not going to use the blue one, but is you simply pull it up just like you do anything else, and you'll notice it's really small. And so you would simply, you know, kind of put it there and play with it. One of the things about scrapbooking and art in general is they tell you to never use even numbers, so always use like 3 or 1 or 5, and it just kind of ends up making sense. If you do it, you'll see just to your naked eye, it's not going to look good if you just do 2. So, come on. And I think just because I'm sharing the screen, it's like super slow. So I don't know if that's helped a little bit with how I build the page. Jody, does that kind of answer some of your questions, or?
Yeah, it does, Jess. When you're done building your page, do you send it off to get printed?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I can show you that in just a second. Let me. So one of the things that I do, and here's the other thing that's important, and this kind of goes into. I'm going to unshare now. I got to save though. If I don't save and I lose this, we will all be very upset. One of the things that.
Uh-oh.
Did we lose her?
We
I don't know yet.
lost our audio.
that I found
There she
quite a
is.
bit when you do this is because that's really what people expect to see when you ship. So don't forget to save it as a JPEG, but save the Photoshop file, because what's going to happen is, 5 days from now or next year, you're going to say, you know what, I already have this whole template built of designs, and all I would have to do is go and change some colors of some stuff, and I could have a whole new design. If you don't save that Photoshop file, you can't do it. So just to kind of give you, let me just show you what I mean by that. So right now,
You're saving as a PSD, right, Jessica?
yeah, save it as the PSD. So right now it's a PSD, and I have this picture. So let's say all of a sudden I decide, you know what, I really want to do this, but I don't want it to be banned anymore. I want it to be something else, but I want to use the same design. Well, all you have to do is, if I go here and I add a layer, and in that layer I do a gradient, all of a sudden I've got that. And notice, because I put it between, I'm pointing with my finger, you didn't see that, did you? Between the, I put it between the weave and this, you get the, and it's much better to see, this is exactly what I was talking about before, you actually get to see kind of that paper design. You can just change it out, but then all you have to do is, you've got all these great, embellishments in the right place, and you can just go in and update them and change them and make a whole new page with the same design and layout without as much work. Because, it took me 15 minutes to build this layout. You might as well take advantage of it, and you can just move some stuff around and mess with it.
You got a black screen there, Jessica.
I'm black screened?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dear.
You're not on my iPad.
No, we still have it okay.
Are you back to me? Can you see me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay.
How come I got a black screen then?
I don't know.
Well, you're not special.
I see everybody else but you.
Okay. Well, I see me. Okay, so in order to print them,
Okay.
in order to print them, I go to, and I'm gonna have a brain meltdown here for a second, and I'm gonna have to remember where I print them from. Oh dear.
Smug Mug.
I might have to go and look at my email. Just give me a second.
Kodak.
Scrapbook pages. And there's a lot of places that print, and the big thing that I like to say is don't use like Walmart or Walgreens or anything like that, because they really don't know what they're doing when it comes to scrapbook pages, and they're not going to give you the quality that you want. This here, you can't see because I'm not sharing. You're just looking at me, and looking at me is not really helping you, is it? This place, VO, I guess is how you would say that. They'll actually make scrapbooks, 12 by 12 scrapbooks, and they'll do books for you, or they'll do loose pages. They'll even do double-sided pages. So if you want to simply send them two different pictures, they'll put it on back-to-backs. I've been really impressed with them. There is another place that prints 12 by 12s that I've liked, but sometimes I'm trying to find, this is not it. Sometimes the problem I have with 12 by 12s, so if you look at this, look at these, they tell you, like, Shutterfly will do it, but Shutterfly charges you a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Mixbook will only do books, they won't do individual sheets. So VO I've really liked. Scrapbooks Please is the place that I've been using just recently, because they do a lot of 99-cent specials. Well, they'll print your page for 99 cents. So they do a lot of like discounts and deals, and they'll do some pages, and I'm all about finding a discount. So Scrapbooks Please and VO are the two that I've been using to print individual pages. I did use Shutterfly when I wanted to do a full book. This is a page actually to show you where I got my elements from, and it's called Opposites Attract from Scrapbook Girls. And like I said, they have a lot of kits online, and you can just download so that everything matches. I think most of us are probably good enough. We could have made some of those ourselves, but I don't have a lot of time. I think everybody knows that. So for me, it's easier just to spend $5.99 and download all these digital kits and get them. It is so much cheaper than real scrapbooking. It's unbelievable. So it's, you know, $5.99 for a couple of pages that I'll use over and over again versus, you know, we spend thousands of dollars on paper that we use once and end up in the book, but you can't use it again. So I think Jody's nodding her head. See, she knows what I'm talking about. So I think buying the kits is, even though it seems more expensive than spending the time to build it in Photoshop Elements, it ends up being worth it.
Is 12 by 12 the normal size for a scrapbook?
I'm sorry?
Is 12 by 12 the normal size for scrapbooking?
Right, yeah, 12 by 12 is the base size. There's a lot of people right now doing 8.5 by 11 landscape albums.
Okay.
That's kind of a new trend in scrapbooking. But most of scrapbooks are 12 by 12.
Okay.
I don't know, Jody, what do you do?
I do 12 by 12.
Yeah. I don't know, Serena?
I started with the 8.5 by 11s, but I don't think you get enough detail in there. You don't get enough photos. It's the 12 by 12 is better.
Yeah. That's what I do. I do my vacation albums in the 8.5 by 11 just to have a different look, but that's the only ones I do.
Okay, Jessica, I have a question.
Okay.
I know when I scrapbook, like if I went to a concert, I want to save the tickets. How do you attach the tickets to that digital picture?
Okay, so that's the one thing that I was going to go over, and for some reason my email didn't come through. I have a scanner, and I think a lot of us have scanners, or you can go to like a lot of photo stores. So this is the program from that concert. I actually have scanned it in as a JPEG, and I'm going to use that, and I'm going to put it on the bottom of the girl's scrapbook page. I'm going to just clip it into the bottom so that I have it. But what I do is I just scan in stuff. So one of the other things I've done, like my daughter runs cross country, I took all of her bibs and I scanned them in. The bibs are the little paper that have her number on the front. I scanned them all in to collage together a background page for her pictures. So the background of her pictures, her scrapbook page, is all of her bibs laid on top of each other. And you can do that in Photoshop Elements. It'd be really difficult to do that because you can't resize it in real life. I mean, that's the beauty of using Photoshop Elements, is you can resize it, you can make them opaque, you can make them see-through. I don't know if I have some of my other examples of pages I've done, but I mean, I think you guys have seen them online. And I think, you know, the pages, to me, the reason I like digital scrapbooking, there are two reasons I like it. First of all, I am an engineer, and just being able to make everything perfect and square, and you know, it does something that, and it has been said that the reason I should scrapbook real is because I need to get outside of my box. So, you know, I try, but that's some of the things I like about scrapbooking. But the other thing I like about scrapbooking is it allows you to get all those things that are weird sized. So the map from Disney World, it allows you to scan those and shrink them and actually get them so that you have them forever. And it's kind of neat to be able to do that.
Okay, I have another question.
Okay.
Have you ever tried to make a DVD from those?
No.
No? Is there any way you could?
Well, I mean, you could just put the pages together, I guess, as a slideshow. I don't see why you couldn't. But I don't know. I've never actually made a DVD on my computer.
See, that's what I was kind of wanting to do, is my daughter did a thing for me for Mother's Day, and I want to take those pictures and scrapbook them and put them in a DVD instead of digital prints. So I didn't know if you've ever done anything like that before.
I haven't, but I'm not a big I'm not a big doer of that kind of stuff. So
I'm sure there's a way to do that. Take each page and make a slideshow like you're talking about.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I don't see why I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this right here, I don't know if you guys can see the zoo page. I was trying to show it, but this is a page that I did that did something else. You can also, you know, take one of your pictures and blow it out, or put a filter on top of it, or put a texture on top of it and make it the background. So this is just a simple scrapbook page I did for our zoo trip, where I took the background, and I was trying to put it in Photoshop Elements, but I don't know why it won't let you see that. The background is a picture that I just blew out and kind of muted, and then I put the other pictures on top of it. So that's another thing you can do. It's another kind of way to use Photoshop elements to your advantage. I don't know, any other questions?
Have you ever built a layout on your own without, like, just from a sketch?
Yeah, I mean that was the zoo page is just mine that I mess around with. I do a lot of just messing around. I think if you're starting, it's a lot easier just to use a sketch because it gives you a base layout. I think, and if you have a sketch, it just lets you somewhere to start. But like the zoo page that I did, a lot of my pages are, well, and one of the things you'll notice when I mean, that's kind of the big difference, right? When you look at the zoo page, it's very obvious that I have an issue with symmetry and straight lines, and there's no curves, and there's no knickknacks, and there's a little thing down here. You know, it's a very much, you can tell I designed this page. There's no real, I just say no creativity because there is creativity, but it's a very linear creativity. So for me, you know, using sketches is a way for me to kind of have my pages look a little bit less engineering, but still follow a cookbook plan. So it works for me. I think everybody just kind of has to find what they like and what works for them.
Mm-hmm.
We lost Jody.
She stepped away. There she is.
No, she's there.
I'm having dinner, sorry.
It's okay. I hope that helps. I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense. So that's how I digitally scrapbook.
It looked good, and the screen sharing was perfect. You could see everything.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Yeah, real nice.
Well, good.
I think our webcast, the webcast is still trying to catch up. It's about halfway through.
Oh, really?
So if you want to watch yourself, just flip over and you can see yourself.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly good without watching myself. I was wondering if there are questions in the webcast, though. Are we?
And there's
anybody asking
yeah, there's
questions?
nobody chatting over there. There's a few viewers, but nobody chatting.
Okay.
Jessica, can you use brushes in elements to put on your scrapbooking page?
Yeah. One of the things that actually there's a lot of people that design brushes just for scrapbooking. So they actually have brushes that look like, you know, Brads or Staples or whatever, and then you can just use them just like brushes.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you have a brush that you use, you can just paint on it just like anything else. Now, what I like to do a lot is the cookie cutter. I'm a real big fan of that cookie cutter. I just think it's super fun. And because that way you can you take a layer, you make it whatever color you want, and then you cookie cutter out the shape of that color. So you can do that with a gradient, you can do that with a design, with a picture, with an element that you've scanned in. So I think the cookie cutter to me is more fun than using a brush, but that's just because that's what I like to do.
Okay.
Other thing you can do is it has frames. If you actually go to, let me go back. If you go to this side of, I think it's guided, might be guided, or maybe it's create. I'm trying to remember where it is that has the, okay, now I'm not finding it. There is a place on here that has like, oh, Jack, help me. There's a place that has like frames and little pictures and all kinds of crazy stuff.
I think it is under create.
Is it create?
I think it's under full, isn't it?
Is it full? I just am not finding it.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Content.
There it goes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Content. Yeah.
It's under content. So there's actually like all of these crazy backgrounds that are kind of made for scrapbooking. So if you did, like, if you were going to the zoo, so like if I wanted to, and this is gonna just really mess that up, but okay, that's the thing. But anyway, you can apply backgrounds to these. There's a whole section over here under content that is made for scrapbooking. I mean, it has frames, it has pictures, it has graphics, it has funky text. So if you want to, Photoshop Elements has for you this whole section here of things you can do that are a lot more interesting in some ways than what than just using some of the base stuff. So this is actually like a scrapbooking section of Photoshop Elements.
Do you know of any ways you can put your own backgrounds in there?
I haven't. I haven't even played with any of this that much. Just because you have to realize. I think you just saw that. You have to know when you start that you want to use that. That's my one big complaint about those backgrounds. Because if you notice, when I put it on my zoo page, it overtook it.
Yes.
You have to know that that's what you want to do and start from there. I never remember to go there until it's too late and I already have my page built. So you have to, and that's why I just don't use it, because you have to, so you'll see it took over and made that the background.
Yes.
So that's your only option. And it's kind of annoying. So that's why, I don't necessarily use that. So. But it's there if you wanted to. And if you realized you wanted to use it first.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Mm. It has to be other questions. Look, we look like we're the Dawn of the Dead.
I know. Okay, any other questions?
Actually, you answered the one I was going to ask a while ago, so I have no more.
Really? What was that? Now I'm
About
curious.
if you make your pictures with the bevel and the shadow and all that stuff on your pages.
Oh yeah, you have to, or else it doesn't.
I was getting ready to ask you, and then you went right to it. I was like, okay, that was it.
There you go. See, I'm there for you, man.
You did a great job.
I have to remember to not save. That's my problem. Don't save any of that crap I just did. Okay, well, I hope that answers the questions about scrapbooking. It was fun. See, and this gets me out of doing a live show, Jack. See, I did it.
See? And you actually did a live show anyway. See that?
I did a live show without having to realize I was doing a live show. That's even better.
Yeah, I think it worked out all right. And also, just to let everybody know, as long as nobody has any objections, we're going to put this whole thing on YouTube just the way you're seeing it right now.
Oh,
Cool.
good.
So.
And you guys should ask some more questions so it seems even cooler. Come on.
So with all of our bobbing heads and,
All your head bobbing.
Bobbleheads.
We'll probably have millions of people that wanting to join our Hangouts because they're so cool.
They are so cool.
That's right.
I know.
So how often do you get your digitals printed out?
How long have you been doing scrapbooking for?
Okay, so I've been scrapbooking since 2005, so 7 years. And I do yearly albums and vacation albums. That's all I do. I do a yearly album of all the stuff that happens in a year, and then I do, if we go on a special vacation, I do a separate vacation album. So I have typically 2 albums a year, a yearly album and a vacation album. Sometimes, that's about all I do. I would say sometimes if we go somewhere, just my husband and I'll do a mini album just of the pictures from that, because, the kids are the most important thing. But that's what I do.
Don't tell
How
them
many pages are usually in your album?
I
I seen at the beginning you had that
that
gigantic
big one
book.
like this big.
Huge one, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Awesome. I love it. This
so
is probably the
big.
biggest one I've done. What happens is, I know it is so big. Well, what happens is you get things like puffy stickers and flowers and brads and buttons that when you digitally scrapbook, they're not puffy, and that's much easier. But when you real scrapbook, you end up with puffy things, and it makes the book look actually thicker than it is. One of the other things that I do, because I still love stickers, is even when I do a digital page, I'll stick some stickers on it later, just for the sheer fun of it. But yeah, this one has... What?
When you print them out, it prints out like a photograph, or
right,
on paper, like...
You can choose. You can choose, and it depends on what look you're going for. So this...
Oh, okay.
Like this is a digital page that I did.
It won't fade.
Right, and it's on a... it's on kind of just a shiny paper, but there was one that I did as a gift for someone.
Okay.
Printed out on cardstock. thick cardstock. So it's printed out on much thicker, higher quality paper. The reason I did that was because I wanted it to look like more like a scrapbook page. It just kind of looks more like a canvas. So you can do that. You can print it out however you want. Most of the time, you know, the better quality paper, the larger the cost of the printouts.
Okay, and it won't fade? It won't fade in time or anything like that?
No, actually, these last a lot better than some of the, because they're archival safe and almost all the paper is printed on. If you use if you use a scrapbook place, if you print from Walgreens or Walmart, I'm not going to say that it's going to last. If you print from a scrapbook place that's made to print for scrapbooks, they print it on a quality paper that's acid-free so that it will last and it won't fade.
Okay.
If you print from 12 by 12 from some of these other places, you don't get, that's what I was saying before, they're not meant for scrapbooking. Dawn!
Okay.
That's my friend Dawn.
Hi, Dawn.
Hi, Dawn.
I came on.
Thanks, Dawn. A little late. Where was the support earlier?
I'm sorry. Don't I sound like a frog?
You do. You're sick. Stay away from me.
Quick, nobody breathe their computer.
You might catch a virus.
Yeah.
Kevin, did you have a question earlier? Because I think.
What's that?
Did you have a question earlier?
What was that? I just asked you about how many pages you usually have, but you answered it.
Yeah, I just. I have a lot of pages.
It just depends on how many pictures you take, huh?
Yeah, it depends on the activities. What you find. Oh, Bob! Hi, Bob!
Oh, good God.
That's Dawn's husband, Bob. You're going to be on YouTube. You're going to be famous now, Bob.
My problem is I never have an idea of what to do.
Well, that's why I started doing yearly tracks. I just start with January, and I look what I take in January and what events were in January, and I just make 2 or 3 pages from that, and then I go to February. What happened in February?
Okay.
And I try to do at the beginning of all my albums too a year in the life page where I take a picture from every month and I just put 1 picture in a month and I do 12 pictures, or I do a picture from every season or major holidays, and I do 1 kind of cover page that says this is what we did this year. But if you kind of just start with, go to your digital file and you say, what did I do in January? And pick 2 or 3 really good pictures. And then let's say you have a lot of, you've been moving. Let's say you have a lot of pictures of moving into the bus. Well, you would do maybe a 2-page spread with just some pictures on, moving in. And, just go and let your pictures kind of be your guide as to what you've done. The other thing that you can do, and one of the things that I like about the digital is, if you go someplace and let's say you didn't take a camera or your pictures didn't turn out so good, you can always use the internet. So one time we went to Las Vegas and saw a concert, and I took pictures, but we were, in the nosebleed section because we didn't pay for the good seats. And I take all these pictures, and none of them turned out. They were all crap. It was all dark. It was before I joined Jack's Tech Corner, so I didn't know about ISO. My pictures were crap. Well, guess what? I go on the internet, and there are pictures. There's a Facebook page with pictures from the concert. Now, 10 years from now, nobody's going to know those weren't my pictures. Somebody posted pictures.
Exactly.
They can go in my scrapbook. There you go. So I took the picture. I put it on my scrapbook. I'm not selling them. I'm not making money off of them. I'm just putting them in my scrapbook.
That's what I do. I've never taken a picture in my life. You guys don't know that.
That's right. I mean, that's kind of the neat thing you can do. And actually, I ended up taking some of his publicity photos and just having some of those. And you can do neat things like that digitally. You can also add, one of the big things right now is that text overlay, vellum look, where the text is kind of see-through and you can see the picture below it. You can actually, even if you don't want to do a full digital scrapbook page, use Photoshop Elements to make that vellum look on your pictures. So you take a picture, you write the word, you make it an overlay in the layer, and make it kind of less opaque. And then you can actually have and print it as a 4x6, and now your picture comes pre-made with the word on it, so you don't have to spend all that time cutting the vellum out or writing it or finding the right saying. That's another thing that I do quite a bit is I actually pre-edit my pictures in Photoshop and not edit like make the picture so much better and make it look like a portrait, but edit it into make it more like a scrapbook picture. So I have a lot of my pages that are full of scrapbook pictures that I did in Photoshop Elements that I printed out to use on my pages.
Okay.
Another thing I've done is add staples that way because Jody probably will know and Don will know that staples, when you actually put a staple in your scrapbook, sometimes it'll scratch and it'll actually may ruin the page in front of it or behind it. Well, if you just get, and I actually, the kit that I have has like 2 or 3 different sizes and designs of staples. I will sometimes put a staple in the corner of my picture digitally so that it looks like it's stapled and print it out that way. So then you get the look of having a stapled page, particularly if you have the shadow. Don't forget the bevel and the shadow. Without actually having the staple that'll ruin your pages.
I'm sure you can find a paintbrush for that, couldn't you?
What?
So I'm sure you could probably find a paintbrush with that, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably could, but I mean, I like most of the kits, most of the embellishment kits they sell online for like 99 cents, or you can even find them for free. We'll just do a staple and you just put it on there.
That's crazy.
Well, look at this. We're getting a big crowd now.
Just about over.
I know. So, Jody, did I answer everything that you wanted to know? I feel like, because you're the one who asked originally.
Yeah, I think so, until I start.
Yeah. Then we'll have lots of questions for you.
Okay, well, do this for me, Jessica. Close your YouTube video out, and I'll stop the recording on this now so we can put it in, so I can wrap it up. So just put a closing touch on it. Your words of wisdom.
Put a closing touch on it?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for watching me scrapbook, and go to Jack's Tech Corner to see more scrapbook pages because he's going to get into scrapbooking more and do more photography. There you go.
That was good. See, you even threw my name in there. Wow, that was nice of you.
Jessica, do you have your own webpage, your website?
No.
Jessica.
I don't really, I mean, like, I don't do this to sell it or to, I do it because I like it. I don't do it to make money off of it because I have a lot of friends that have tried to make money off scrapbooking and all of a sudden scrapbooking is not fun anymore and they don't do it anymore.
That's
and I don't ever want to get there.
Are you going to be doing a world tour soon?
What?
Are you going to be doing a world tour soon so we can come to one of your scrapbooking classes?
No.
No? Okay. No. I thought maybe.
No. I want it to be fun. I like scrapbooking because it's fun. I don't want it to be work.
Yeah, right. All right. I'm just going to stop this and we'll continue to talk. I think the web show is still trying to catch up. You're about 3/4 of the way done on the web show.
Oh, well. Okay.
There's a little lag right now, so.
Don, you missed my page. It was